Agenda. Courtney, are you able to share?
Yes, I will share the
Oh, wait,
agenda.
I think I got it. I got it now. Okay, too many things open, I think. Okay, can you guys see the agenda?
Yes.
Yes, okay, cool. I can't see you, so thank you for the verbal confirmation. So should we go ahead and do roll call, Courtney? I don't have a list of the members, but I can see who's all on the screen.
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay. So I know we have, let's see. Do you have a list of the members to go through?
Yes, I can read through them. So Christina Bury.
Yep, here.
Kirk Will. I see you, Kirk.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Amy Moyer is excused. John Ring is excused. Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally.
Present.
Great. Julie Stensel. Sylvan White Skunk is excused. Brett Wolk.
Hello.
Hi, Brett. Katie McGrath Novak is excused. And Commissioner Clyde Church.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Clyde.
Okay, so approval of the minutes. Was there any edits or questions about the minutes from September 11th? If none, I'll take a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Minutes approved. Okay, thank you all for that. Okay, quick update on the playbook, and others certainly feel free to jump in. So Courtney did email out the last, most recent draft that we have on the playbook. I think I haven't been a part of the conversations with the State Forest Service, and it looks like, John, I think you were on, so it might be good to just get an update from you all or see if there's any questions. I think Aaron's on from the State Forest Service too. But the last I recall from the September meeting, or even prior to that, I think it was really just setting forth some kind of rough estimate from this group for the State Forest Service to be able to get the budget to contract for it. So the hope from this committee was to take that rough outline, which combined the work of the collaborative readiness that Colorado Forest Restoration Institute worked with the Center for Collaboration, as well as Chaska's work on that, and then combine that with a more focused look at forest resilience, as well as incorporate some of the adaptive planning framework. And so we've taken that outline, and I think really the next step is, one, to hear from the State Forest Service about if they need anything in order to either get the support for budget, or if you need any more information for that contract, as well as I think there was going to be, Courtney's working on scheduling a meeting with Katie, myself, Brett, to talk through some next steps. So I'll stop there and see if there's any questions or further updates from the other committee members or the State Forest Service. Okay. Courtney, anything to add that I missed or misrepresented on the update?
No, I think that was right.
Okay.
There had been in the last meeting, we had set a goal to have a draft RFP ready by this October meeting. And I was a little slow in getting the group together, and a few of the important people were out last week. So I'm hoping that meeting will happen this week or early next week. So we are a little bit behind schedule, and I apologize for that. But I think at that next meeting, we were going to pull some things out of the draft for the RFP and sort of solidify a timeline that would go in the RFP for the contractors to work off of.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Any questions before moving on?
I guess just to confirm, the State Forest Service hasn't moved forward or started drafting a contract or just done anything because you're waiting for the committee to have this sort of smaller focus group meeting?
No, we have not moved on. We're waiting for this meeting with that Courtney
Okay.
set up.
Thanks for the reminder to doodle for that meeting. I'll do that now. Was that last week?
Yes, I can forward the email again to you all.
I got it. Thanks.
And Courtney, because I'm going to be out next week, if you all want to proceed with meeting without me, I don't want to slow it down. So I'm happy to add value where I can, but certainly don't want to be like if schedules work for everybody else to have that meeting, then I can catch up.
Okay.
Any other questions on the playbook? Okay, so moving on to case studies and success stories. So this was something I wanted to introduce with you all. This is based on a meeting that Denver Water hosted last week. It's called the Wildland Fire Leadership Council. WFLC is the acronym. And so WFLC is comprised of a lot of federal agency members and is led by Deputy Undersecretary of USDA Merrill Harrell, as well as Joan Mooney, who is just under Deb Holland with Department of Interior. And the thought behind this council is to have more coordination regarding wildfire and forest health activities. So they look at all areas of fire, including prevention, like mitigation before the fire, wildfire suppression, as well as post-fire recovery. So the focus of this meeting last week was really about this concept of very similarly to where we're at, a playbook. And so I had talked to Courtney before the meeting and mentioned, hey, WFLC is working on a playbook concept. And so I want to report back to the Forest Health Council and certainly this committee on the progress of that and how or if it influences our playbook. The good news is that I don't think anything from that meeting or the discussions will influence our concept of the playbook. And in fact, I think ours is significantly better. The discussions with WFLC didn't go very well in that they couldn't agree on an audience for this playbook. So I think that they had the concept of a playbook, but once the discussions took place about, well, who's the audience, who is this intended for, the members were not on the same page about should this be for the federal agencies or should this be for local government. There wasn't agreement, and so I don't know where the playbook is going to go. So the benefit to some of those discussions, though, was this concept about case studies and success stories. And so one thing that was discussed as part of this playbook was local communities especially need to see what success looks like. And so a playbook is not very beneficial if they don't know what success looks like. And having specific examples of what success looks like would be very helpful. And so there was discussion about doing some kind of appendix on having some case studies to show what success looks like. And that could range from actual on the ground work, that could range from setting up collaboratives. And so that was a concept that I think would be good for the Forest Health Council as a whole. I know we're hearing from Wildfire Matters Committee. I know we're hearing from our federal representatives. Okay, we got all this money. from bipartisan infrastructure law, from the Inflation Reduction Act, for the wildfire strategy, but we're not seeing how it's being implemented. We are not seeing how it's being spent successfully. And I know people are hungry for these success stories to show the work on the ground being done. And so I think that's one thing I don't need a decision from you all, but I do think it would be really powerful to discuss maybe with the greater council at large, this concept of coming up with case studies. And I think that's something individual council members can work on. I know, like Brett, you've worked on one for Chaffee County. I certainly could do one for Denver Water. I think Larimer County has an amazing story. And so my thought was just for your feedback is just, maybe council members can just take some time and create a 1-page like case study. And it could be an appendix to this playbook that we're working on, or it could be a standalone separate thing. But I think that there would be a lot of benefit to it. So I've been talking a lot and just, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can maybe have some discussion and just, I can hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, Clyde Church, LaPlata County. I think it sounds like a great idea. People need to understand what triggers a community to take action and what resources are needed to take action. So I can come up with at least one case study, Falls Creek Ranch Homeowners Association. And we also have one, the city and county is in collaboration on the Florida River watershed. With a whole bunch of other people, and then CFLRP out here on the southwest and the San Juans. So there's some good success stories out here. I can try to round those up.
That's awesome. Thanks, Clyde. Yeah, any other thoughts?
I guess I'll just throw in there. Thanks for that update, Christina. But yeah, I think depends a little bit on who the audience is, what kind of case studies we would want to drum up.
Sure.
So it's sort of like the chicken and the egg of they want stuff, but who are we presenting it to? That matters a lot.
Yeah.
And what kind of, are they looking for those, an HOA like Commissioner Church just said, or a CFLR, and this is how we've done it across a big thing. So yeah, I guess I would also say, I think my impression of things like the Rocky Mountain Restoration Initiative and stuff like that, I thought that was a little bit of their purpose and mission, was to tell stories and help get some of that. State Forest Service is doing a lot better job of that last couple of years. And so there's already kind of a lot out there. Maybe a role for the council could be to round up some of those as we get requests, but yeah.
I love it. I think especially the rounding up, like, of what's already there. I think that'd be awesome. Angela.
Yeah, I'll just throw in, it's on a much, I think, smaller scale than the sort of storytelling that you're talking about, but Courtney and Allison have done a really nice job of pulling together some co-swap success stories, really just, short vignettes about some of the projects that we funded, what motivated them, et cetera. But again, maybe that's it might be on a smaller scale, I think, than what you're looking for at kind of the community level, but we have those to share if needed.
That's cool. No, I think the community level, I think Brett's right. And we need to figure out, who the audience is. I think people are hungry for kind of like the local grassroots, like community level stuff. I think that I don't think people do have a clear vision about what success looks like on the ground. And so I think we're all kind of making it up as we go. So I do think and hearing from a lot of the local collaboratives that took place in that meeting was just, they need to see, like, even a really small scale, like just standing up a collaborative, what that looks like. But instead of a playbook, maybe, just giving a concrete example is more helpful at whatever level of government. I think would be good. But I think Brett's correct in that it does come down to who the audience would be. So certainly, hope to talk through this more, like with you all now, and the Greater Forest Health Council too. Now, I think if our target audience is some representatives, I do see that being like a good kind of partnership with the legislative committee. And Jody, I know you serve on that. There's probably other folks on this call that serve on that, but that might just be something to kick around too with the legislative committee, is more for our representative, state or federal. If this would be something that would be beneficial or the legislative committee would support.
I think it's always great to have that conversation. If you'd like to send over like a brief statement of what you'd like for us to discuss, we can add it where we can in the next meeting. We have a pretty full agenda for the next several meetings, but I can certainly would put on there some communication and ask that question for you all at our next meeting or the next meeting after that, if that would be fine.
Yeah, there's no urgency behind it. And this was just a concept that I wanted to talk to you guys about and just see what your thoughts are. And so, yeah, thanks, Jody. Yeah, I'll make sure that things are very clearly stated before any preparation before going to the legislative committee.
That would be great. And, we kind of share stories and things that other places are doing already kind of in the legislative meeting. And I just wanted to, I think it's always great to learn from others, but also I think it's also great to learn from things that didn't go well and how you learned. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, so I wanted to kind of point that out too. But thank you. I appreciate it, Christina.
Yeah. Clyde, go ahead.
Yeah, playing off Jody's comment about different learning styles. Do we envision this being a paper document only or a multimedia document with links out to videos and websites? And
All of the above is how I think, honestly, it was really just a thought in my mind and a need that was identified and that I think could be beneficial and folks could work on. So like I said, either in addition to the playbook as like an appendix or just its own thing. But I think the sky's the limit with the potential for whatever you would have the capacity for. Yeah.
let's not stretch it that far.
Yeah. Okay, well, I really appreciate your guys' thoughts about it and just listening to me just share to what I was thinking. I think next steps, I don't know, Courtney, I can't remember where we left things. Is this something that we wanted to at least like discuss at the October 25th meeting? Is that appropriate, or should we talk more, in this committee to prep for the fuller council at large?
I think in the committee update agenda, it would be appropriate to share that this is the committee is wanting to develop, just so people can start thinking about successes that they might have, or if they read one from their community, they can save it in their inbox, kind of start cataloging things. So I think it's worth mentioning even before it's all the details are completely fleshed out.
Okay. So maybe in the update, I'll mention this is just a concept we're initially discussing, but I do think identifying some of the questions that Brett raised, like who would be the audience and what already exists. I think some of that this committee can work through in future meetings. Are you all in support of that? Brett, especially you.
I don't know. I'm not. This is like WIFLIC is the wildfire. Forgetting the acronym right now, but the people who made this request to you, I think we have to consider like I get lots of requests. I think we all get lots of requests for case studies and things, and I don't want to jump and respond to every single one. So I don't.
This wasn't a request from WIFLIC. This was just something that I think kind of we were in parallel in that we're developing this playbook and they were developing a playbook and they talked about an appendix of case studies, and that would in turn be more beneficial than the actual playbook. So that's why I introduced it at this committee, just to see if you all felt the same or if it's something you're interested in doing. And if not, that's totally fine.
I definitely think that case studies will be very helpful for the playbook that we've talked about, and we should include some in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay,
I have another playbook that I heard of before we move on to the next one,
sure.
if that's where a good time for it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So CFRI leadership has some semi-regular calls with leadership at the U.S. Forest Service Region 2, and a lot of state, private, tribal forestry staff attend those. And they brought up, and Tara Humphreys said that the Forest Service is working on a playbook that seemed to do some similar but different things of ours, and it was very early stages. I don't know, Angela, Bogue, or others, if you know anything more about this, but they had no idea what we were doing, and we didn't know what they were doing. So it was just kind of sharing that. And I, as also articulated, that there's lots of different groups and meetings going on, and that, quite frankly, the U.S. Forest Service is not very present in the Forest Health Council at all. You know, Jackie Buchanan does her best to attend, but hasn't attended very much, and there's not, I actually gave the example of the State Forest Service has lots of people on every call and is very engaged. And that more people can go than just Jackie. So there might be some people from particularly the state, private, tribal forestry were eager to engage in different levels of the Forest Health Council, which I think would be good to densify some of these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone else has heard of this Forest Service playbook that I think is coming along with the wildfire crisis strategy and some U.S. Forest Service initiatives, particularly on associated with the Front Range. Does anyone else know about that at all, or?
I haven't heard about it in detail, Brett, but I can just ping Tara and try and get the latest from her on it.
Okay.
And then thanks for your comment, you know, regarding U.S. Forest Service participation, and it's definitely something we've been struggling with a bit. Dan Dallas, I think, is supposed to attend the meeting in person on the 25th, so that's positive. But we will take your comment and have some conversations.
There, yeah, the acting director of State Private Tribal, Leah Rathburn, was very interested in engaging, as well as folks like Matt Tootin and others within State Private Tribal. So I think there's more people than, like, it's great that Dan Dallas is there. You know, a lot gets put on Tara Humphreys right now, and she can't be everywhere.
Aaron, go ahead. And Aaron, also, not to put you on the spot, but you were also at WFLIC, so would love to get your thoughts in addition to what you raised your hand about. Okay, thanks.
I had a different opinion on how that process went with WFLIC. I think we did produce some pretty good stuff, and I volunteered to continue to work on that playbook moving forward. I'm just guessing that the playbook that they were talking about, Brett, is this one, because it had an overly Forest Service centric vibe to most of the meeting, and there were state and private tribal forestry representatives from all across the country and from DC in that meeting. And so I think it's probably the same playbook that they were referencing and not something different. But we're going to continue to keep on working on that idea. There was a little bit of differences of opinions, but we talked about maybe some leadership opportunities for local champions that could be an outcome of the playbook that we were working with WFLIC. So, like, just how to move somebody through stages of readiness was something that I brought into some of those discussions. And one of the thoughts they had is, like, Forest Service folks have incredible leadership opportunity at Gray Towers, which is like Gifford Pinchot's former estate. But it's only for Forest Service people. But we thought about, like, some way that you could nominate or send some local champion to a larger leadership thing to make connections across different states and different collaboratives that would increase some of the networking opportunities of seeing what success is and giving them the lessons learned that we develop in this playbook as opportunities to move forward. So I'll continue to attend those meetings and work on development of that playbook in the future, and we'll certainly bring it back to this committee with some more information in the near future.
That's awesome, Aaron. That's great. And that's fantastic to hear that it's aligned with too what Brett was mentioning about the U.S. Forest Service playbook. That was the direction I was hoping it was going to go. So I'm glad that it went that way. Good. And Aaron, just thoughts on the case studies and just for this committee based on your participation in WFLIC. Any thoughts on that?
I guess I think there's still a lot of value in what we're doing because it's a little more Colorado specific. And I think if anything, I don't think we're recreating the wheel, but we might gain some additional resources for the contractor from the information that the WFLIC group comes and presents. So I think it can be additive.
Okay, great. That's good. Okay, good. And I'm encouraged that your conversations were more positive and productive. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on this topic? If not, if you all agree, I'll go ahead and just mention to the Forest Health Council that this was just a topic that we initially discussed and just kind of leave it at that. And then as we plan for future committee meetings, I'll make sure to reach out to folks with any questions and in preparation for those meetings. But if you have any thoughts or just general questions, just please reach out to me. This really was just supposed to be just kind of a brainstorming kind of initial introduction to that concept. So, but I also learned a lot from you all on the U.S. Forest Service playbook and kind of some of the other conversations at that meeting at WFLIC. So thank you all. Clyde, yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, when do you want those case studies by?
Oh, Clyde, I don't think it's anything you need to jump on or work on. At least not on the behalf of this committee. I don't need anything anytime soon for that. I think this is just an initial concept. So, and I'm not sure if everybody is necessarily on board either, especially with the council at large.
Just testing.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So next item on the agenda is the Colorado Forest Tracker, which I'm really excited to hear about. So Brett, I'll turn it over to you if that's okay.
That's okay.
Cool.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course.
Before we move on, I do want to share, I don't know if everyone saw, but this collaborative stages of readiness that we've been talking about a lot. In the last couple of weeks, there's actual papers that have been published on it, and it's a thing that you can read and download now. So I'll put a link in the chat. Oops, I wasn't typing in the right spot. So there's on the NOCO Fireshed website, Chaska wrote a little blog kind of introducing it, and then there's links to all the documents. And as you read through, I just opened it up. There are lots of case studies from Colorado, from the Northern Colorado Fireshed. I saw a map of pods on the Gunnison, the GMAG National Forest. They talked about Chaffee County, different things. So it's a thing now. You can share and read and cite. Colorado Forest Tracker.
Oh yeah,
Shifting
yes.
gears. Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, I was pausing to see if there are any comments or questions on that. Yeah, and I'm excited. I don't know how it's all going to happen, but in my head, Colorado Forest Management Activities Tracker and the stages of readiness and the playbook and everything all builds on each other and kind of fits together in a nice puzzle. So I'm hoping that it comes together for other people like that and we're mind melded in some way and all understand it. So the shorthand is the Forest Tracker. So I'll sort of say that, but been working really closely with State Forest Service, Nick Kotlinski and Rebecca Daniels, their GIS team. We are hoping tomorrow or Wednesday to start blasting out requests for data and sharing broadly that the tracker is happening, what's in it, what the purpose and goals are, some of that kind of stuff. So hopefully this week, we were hoping to launch last week, but still getting our ducks in a row. Again, for a reminder, the concept came from CFRI, has done it twice in 2016 and again in 2020, collected forest management activities across all land ownerships in Colorado. And ours was a PDF report, a static map. There's no web viewer. We shared the data with anyone who asked, but it wasn't like on a website to download for anybody. It was a little bit different kind of project. This is going to be collecting data, putting it on the Colorado Forest Atlas that the State Forest Service houses and hosts, and downloadable and accessible for anybody who wants. So that's kind of the update. We've been having good conversations, reaching out to different agencies and organizations, such as U.S. Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, and some others on sort of how to get access to different kinds of data, which is an interesting conversation all in itself, just what data is stored where and how and who has it. And, oh, that's just on my hard top. It's never uploaded to the federal database, or this is all in there, or some interesting answers with that. Yeah, so I think that's sort of the quick and nerdy update. We have things like we have a website that's prepared when we launch, and some of that stuff to really help communicate some of this information. The goal is still sometime in the spring, probably March or later, to have a functional website where we're displaying and providing the data. It's going to take a while to receive it, mush it all together, put it up on a website. So that's sort of the timeline. So that's just kind of another overview for everyone. I'll stop there. Any questions? And then I'm excited to talk about, as a council, how you all think having this data set, how can we use it to leverage resources and do the work of this committee? So any questions on just sort of the tracker or where it's at, what we're doing?
I like the tracker. I'm bouncing around from page to page, looking it over. Great information.
Page, the one pager that got sent out for this meeting, or are you?
Oh, I'm on the site.
Yeah, it is live. If you Google Colorado Forest Tracker,
It's live.
there's a website up there. Some of the links to the documents at the bottom, we're still making final edits. I don't anticipate any big changes. The submission instructions will have some big changes. That's still a draft thing that is linked there.
Are there plans to move across the state? I mean, I see mainly Front Range partner projects to move across through the mountains to the Utah border eventually.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm not sure where you're seeing that. It's always been a statewide.
That's just the partner projects tab up at the top across across from the logo, just to the right of the logo, 3 steps.
Clyde, maybe do you want to put the link you're looking at in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Will do.
And I'll put that's the link that we have.
Let me get back.
So this will be the landing page just to get information. Again, the data will probably be housed on the Colorado Forest Atlas, and maybe not. There'll be a link from this page to access the data, kind of thing.
That answered my question. I was just going to ask, like, how it related to the Forest Atlas, or if it did, and who was kind of maintaining that data and the website. So thanks.
Yep.
That was
I think we're still figuring a little bit of that out, but fortunately, the person we're working with is Nick Kotlinski, who manages the data for the Forest Atlas. So
awesome.
if we want something up there, then it's a very quick chain of command, because he's the guy that controls it, more or less. It's my understanding. There's some hoops to jump through in Technosilva and some of the contractors, but
Cool.
yeah, I think so. Clyde, the link you shared was for the Northern Colorado Fireshed, and that's
Right.
where I linked the stages of readiness.
And that's in my county, the Northern Colorado Fireshed. Is that the one you're talking to, Brett?
That's what Clyde was talking to, and why he was confused. It was all on the Front Range, and that's because it's the Northern Colorado Fireshed, which is all on the Front Range. But
Yeah, that's what I
Forest
thought.
Tracker will be
That's,
statewide.
yeah, that's who I would collaborate with a lot. Okay, just want to make sure I'm very true, because I'm now in transition and not on my computer. Thanks.
And Aaron, I saw you put the in the chat that you're looking for some support for half of an FTE. If there's anything that this committee can do to help advocate, please let me know. Please let us know. I think that this would be extremely valuable. So just, yeah, please reach out. If you have any thoughts now, I'd love to hear them.
Just managing this database and collecting all of this data on a long-term basis and having it available to the entire Colorado community, kind of on a demand like that. We just anticipate that we're doing it as other duties as assigned, with a lot of help and support from CFRI right now. But to make it sustainable, we're not looking for a full-time person. We don't think it's a full-time job to do it, but it does represent about a half of an FTE out of our science and data division. We have had some encouraging discussions, particularly with John Ring and the BLM, about supporting this. We think we're moving forward in some good discussions, but we just recognize that we make trade-offs to support this, and we're just hoping to find, Amanda is hoping to find a little extra support to make this work long-term. So I'm just representing that.
Can I ask a quick question on that point, if I might? I'm sorry, I can't raise my hand since I'm driving. Is that something that needs funding from one source, or is it something we could blend and braid funding from multiple sources to support it in the long term? Just curious.
I think it could come from multiple sources. I don't think there's any requirement that it has to come from just one source. I think it could come from a variety, because it is not a full-time FTE, and we could have it added into any of our existing agreements with some dedicated support for it. But I just maybe some encouragement for some of our federal partners might help us get there. And we've had positive discussions with both Forest Service and the BLM about this. So
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, I think too, Aaron, just putting my Denver Water hat on, with Forest to Faucets and all the work that we're funding, I know that we're happy to support tracking those projects. So I don't know, I mean, that's something you and I can talk offline, but just want to put that forth that we're we certainly think that's important. So just happy to talk to you offline about it. Yeah, thanks. Any other, well, let's see, Brett, you said that you really wanted to take time and discuss too what this means for the council and what kind of data they'd like to see. So yeah.
Well, yeah, so the data that we're collecting is going to be focused on woody vegetation management. And this is a it's a hard decision. We made a decision to start a little narrower and then potentially broaden out later rather than start very broad. It's focused on sort of woody vegetation cutting or removal, whether that's, cutting it or burning it intentionally, prescribed burning, as well as reforestation and planting is all going to be in there. And things like a lot of, there's some fine lines that we're going to have to figure out how to deal with, particularly around grazing, where there is some targeted grazing at things like Campbell oak or woody vegetation, but the majority of grazing data is herbaceous and sort of not targeted at woody plants in particular. And so how do we incorporate some of that? Same with sort of noxious weed and herbicide management. Things like if we're spraying large areas of tamarisk or Russian olive and some riparian woody vegetation, right, that can have big impacts. But there's a lot of other noxious weed spraying that we're trying to make it narrow so that people know what's in it and it's useful for specific purposes rather than having all of the data in the world and making it not useful for any decisions because it's just a dump of data. So that's sort of where we're going. I think the question for the council, and I've been looking to California recently, released a tracker that I think Courtney linked in the email. They have a state task force that is informing a lot of their forest and fire management activities and funding. And I could see something very similar sort of developing with the Forest Health Council, this forest tracker, the forest playbook, sort of now we have some data and some tools to really help as a council set some direction for the state to go. So I kind of want to plant that seed and have some continuing conversations in the coming months as we're developing the tracker to see how we think we might want to use it and get people thinking about how it could be used by the council to inform some decisions that we would want to make on specifically on leveraging resources.
I think that's great. So for, I guess, bringing this to the council, Brett, do you have time or do you feel like it's appropriate to bring it to the October 25th meeting, or do you, as like a separate item, or do you want to include it in the update from this committee?
Probably, I think an update from this committee, because this committee has done a lot of work over the last year advocating for something like the forest tracker and discussing it. So I think my thought in future meetings of this, and I've emailed a little bit with Courtney and Angela about inviting someone from the California treatment dashboard to talk with our council and say how it's developed, how they have been using it. And then similarly, the Watershed Restoration Initiative in Utah is a similar tool that that state uses to compile, lots of grant funding and push it in and out through one system. So I think it'd be good for this council to learn more about both of those systems in particular.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and was Amy, I remember Amy had brought up the Utah example, and I think was even considering having someone from Utah come to join a subcommittee meeting. Am I making that up? Did that happen and I'm not remembering, or was that something that she had wanted in the future for future meetings?
So we did have a guest come who now works for RWIC, but he had been with the Utah Department of Natural Resources as they were developing the tool. So he had sort of like an early view of it, but I don't think we had anyone speak to us yet who was working with it currently or
Okay.
who'd been a part of how it's leveraged more
Okay.
recently.
Thank you. Thanks, Courtney. So Brett, are you attending the October 25th meeting? I'm attending virtually, and I'm happy to tee that up for you if you want some time as part of the update to talk about it.
Yeah, I am probably attending virtually
Okay.
as well. I'm happy to talk about it. And yeah, I think, I guess it's up to sort of the committee. Do we want to invite someone else from Utah? And then I would really like to invite someone from California on a sort of state by state level of how are you using this as a state, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's of interest to others in the committee or.
Would you all be okay with me working with Brett and Courtney and Angela and getting someone to join our subcommittee meetings? Is everyone okay with that? Supportive? Okay, I'm not hearing anyone that's not supportive. So I'm happy to work on that scheduling, Brett, with Brett and Courtney and Angela, if you guys are okay with that. Okay. I think this is great. And I totally agree, Brett, that it's something that the Forest Health Council has been talking about for a while. It's something this committee has been talking about for a while, is how to track these accomplishments. I think this is huge. And I also agree that I think everything kind of relates to one another, that the playbook, the Colorado Forest Tracker, I think having that all packaged and kind of relate to one another will make a huge difference for Colorado. So I just really appreciate your update and all the work on it. If there's anything else besides maybe just, scheduling some time at committee meetings to have guests share about their state's forest tracker, just let me know. I'm happy to support it. I think it's really important.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Did you get the input that you were wanting feedback on? Anything else for this committee?
I think so. I guess the only other thing I'll mention, and we'll do most of this over email, but is just your help spreading the word and encouraging people to contribute data. So like I said, we've been working with the federal agencies to figure out where to get their best data, but counties, fire protection districts, other entities that work on non-federal lands, there is no central place where to get that data. And so you kind of have to know who to talk to and who has access to the data. And we know a lot of that and are networking with Katie Brothnovic and the Colorado Forest Collaborators Network and folks like that to directly reach people, but just helping spread the word and encouraging people to contribute their data, because it's not an obligatory thing. It's a ask, voluntary contribution of data. So.
Okay. If someone were to want to contribute data, how do they do that? Is there a process on that website, or do they reach out? There is. Okay. So that's very clearly on the website. Okay.
There's a big button at the bottom that says submission instructions and data.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out and we can submit ours if that's helpful. But yeah, I think getting the word out, I agree, that's important. Okay. Thank you. Anything else for Brett? Okay. Thanks so much, Brett. This is really exciting. It's something we've been asking for a long time. So thank you. And Aaron, we'll look out for opportunities too for supporting for that half an FTE. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. Okay, I think, well, we lost Jody. I don't think we needed to vote on anything else. I think it was really just allowing some time to hear from you all on prepping for the October 25th full council meeting. If there was anything as part of the update that I should include, or queue up, or if allow time for you as part of the update of this committee to share. So I'll pause there and see if there's anything that we need to queue up for or prep for the October 25th meeting. Okay. Well, if you think of anything, just reach out. I will be joining virtually. I wanted to go in person, but I have a board meeting that I now need to attend that morning in Denver. And then wanted to allow a few minutes for just general updates from committee members. This is just time set aside where if you have anything for the good of this committee, anything we'd be interested in, anything you want to share, just want to allow time for that. So I'll open that up for folks.
Just wanted to mention that the governor visited Durango last week, and we encouraged him to continue the co-swap program and funding for many years, because fire mitigation takes time, and that these are valuable projects in Southwest Colorado, and I think across the state too. So we put on our sales hat there a little bit.
Good. That's great. I'm glad he visited. That's amazing. And is supportive and interested. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks
There are
for
quite a few community people talking about other topics too. So get your ask on the table type of session.
Good. That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Clyde. Any other general updates? Okay. Angela and Courtney, can I actually officially adjourn without quorum? Or is there anything that I need to do before adjourning?
I think you're fine.
Okay.
I don't know how else.
You're right. The meeting just has to end.
Yeah.
I'll also clarify that quorum actually can't be broken. So if there was something else to vote on
Okay.
later, that wouldn't be a problem.
I didn't know that.
The right answer.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your time. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you all virtually on October 25th. Please reach out if you need anything in the meantime. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.